National Poetry Month in April. The town of St. Johnsbury has been a satellite site called Poem Town, part of Poem City that was established and running very strongly in Montpelier. This is a coordinated effort between Catamount Arts, the St. Johnsbury Athenaeum, and the Chamber of Commerce. I'm just going to mention a couple of events that are coming up here at the Athenaeum, and then I will turn the program over. There will be our first Wednesday for May 6th. The title of the program is Amelia, and it'll be presented by Nancy Neyra. She's a professor at Champlain College, and she will be discussing the mysteries surrounding the 1937 disappearance of Amelia Earhart.
I can't quite hear what you're saying.
Do you want to sit? Yeah, sit up in the front row. So that we're public hearing.
There are a few little places where everybody goes shuts down.
I was just reminding everybody about the first Wednesday program, May 6th, called Amelia.
Amelia.
Amelia. It's about Amelia Earhart and presented by Nancy Neyra. She's a professor at Champlain College. And then the Arts and Culture event will be May 13th. And Don Bredes will be sharing his new book called Polly and the One and Only World. It's a young adult fantasy, and I think it'll be very enjoyable. And a reminder that in May, also the 16th on a Saturday from 7 to 11 will be our 50s Sock Hop Gala. They're $35 a ticket. The admission includes complimentary hors d'oeuvres. There will be live music from the Bel Airs and dancing, a cash bar, and a silent auction. So we invite you to come. I think it'll be a really good time. Our program this evening is entitled Dream Deferred, Past, Present, and Future by Sue Morris. It is a very good program from what I understand. And I'm going to introduce Sian Moliere to give you more information about it. She is part of our Athenaeum family. She's the outreach coordinator for early childhood literacy. For us at the Athenaeum, she visits child care centers around the area, and we are very lucky to have her as part of our community here. So I will now introduce Sian, and welcome.
Thank you, and welcome. Sue Morris was not able to make it today. I just want to say a little bit about her before we get started. And she said she has been in the civil rights movement since before she could walk. Her parents were very active, and her mom was a member of the Negro Labor Vanguard in New Jersey, and she did some activities with them. Sue was also a member of W.E.B. Du Bois Club in Newark, New Jersey, and she helped form the Renner Avenue Freedom School to protest racism in schools, which her younger brother attended. Sue says Dream Deferred was first performed by the Hammurabi, the Minority Student Organization, in the 1980s, and we'll get started in just a moment.
Thanks for coming. We performed this play twice already in Montpelier, once for Black History Month in March and once for Poetry Month this month. And we'd like to dedicate tonight's performance to the people of Baltimore. The program you're about to experience is designed to call your attention to a group of writers who are largely and wrongfully ignored in the listing of great American poets. These people have been ignored because they are black men and women writing about the black experience, something which is foreign to white culture.
Much of what they have to say you have already heard or thought of yourself or experienced, but they have more to say.
Our dream deferred, past, present, and future, presents the poems of Marcus Christian, Warren Cooney, Paul Dunbar, Carl Hines, Langston Hughes, James Johnson, Paulie Murray, Melvin Tolson, Jean Toomer, Margaret Walker, and Gordon Watkins.
And we should say there's a handout back there on the bench with more information about each one of these poets.
And we should also say and thank those who sponsored us, Central Vermont,
Occupy
Central Vermont Anti-Racism Action Team, and the Northeast Kingdom Allies for Racial Justice.
Ooh.
O black and unknown bards of long ago, how came your lips to touch the sacred fire? How, in your darkness, did you know the power and beauty of the minstrel's lyre? Who first from midst his bonds lifted his eyes? Who first from out the still watch, lone and long, feeling the ancient faith of prophets rise within his dark-kept soul, burst into song?
Heart of what slave poured out such a melody as Still Away to Jesus on its strings? His spirit must have nightly floated free, though still about his hands he felt his chains. Who heard great Jordan roll? And who was he that breathed that comforting melodic sigh? Nobody knows the trouble I see.
There is a wide, wide wonder in it all, that from degraded rest and servile toil, the fiery spirit of the seer should call these simple children of the sun and soil, old black slave singers gone, forgot, unfamed, you alone of all the long, long line of those who have sung, untaught, unknown, unnamed, have stretched out upward, seeking the divine.
You sang not deeds of heroes or of kings, no chant of bloody war, no exulting paean of arms won triumphs, but your humble strings you touched in chord with music empyrean. You sang far better than you knew, the songs that for your listeners' hungry hearts sufficed still live. But more than this to you belongs. You sang a race from wood and stone to Christ.
What happened? What happened to a dream deferred?
Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run?
Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like syrupy sweet?
Maybe it just sags like a heavy load.
Or does it explode?
Better our seed rot in the ground and our hearts burn to ash than the years be empty of our imprint. We have no other dream, no other land but this. With slow, deliberate hands these years have set her image on our brows. We are her seed, have borne a fruit, native and pure as unblemished cotton.
Good morning, Daddy. I was born here, he said. Watched Harlem grow until colored folks spread from river to river across the middle of Manhattan, out of Penn Station, dark tent of a nation. Planes from Puerto Rico and hulls of boats, Chico, up from Cuba, Haiti, Jamaica, in buses marked New York, from Georgia, Florida, Louisiana, to Harlem, Brooklyn, the Bronx, and most of all, to Harlem.
For my people, standing, staring, trying to fashion a better way, from confusion, from hypocrisy and misunderstanding, trying to fashion a world that will hold all the people, all the faces, all the Adams and Eve and their countless generations. Let a new earth rise, let another world be born, let a bloody peace be written in the sky, let a second generation full of courage issue forth, clenching the pulsing in our spirits and our blood. Let the martial songs be written, let the dirges disappear, let a race of men now rise and take control.
Dusty sash across Manhattan, I've seen them come dark, wondering.
A crust of bread and a corner to sleep in, a minute to smile and an hour to weep in, a pint of joy to a pack of troubles, and never a laugh, but the moans come double, and that is life.
Wide-eyed,
A crust in a corner that love makes precious, with a smile to warm and the tears to refresh us.
dreaming,
And joy seems sweeter when cares come after, and a moan is the finest of foils for laughter.
Out of Penn Station, but the trains are late. The gates are open, but there are bars at each gate. What happens to a dream deferred? Daddy, ain't you heard?
of us who darkly stand bared to the spittle of every curse, nor left the dignity of beasts. Let none say those were not men but cowards all, with eyes dull-lidded as a frog's. They labored long, but not from love, striving from blind, perpetual fear.
Same in blues. I said to my baby, "Baby, take it slow." "I can't," she said, "I can't. I got to go." There's a certain amount of traveling and a dream deferred.
The new Negro strides upon the continent in 7-league boots. The new Negro who sprang from the vigor stout loins of Nat Turner, gallows martyr for freedom, of Joseph Sinquest, Black Moses of the Amistad Mutiny, of Frederick Douglass, oracle of the Catholic man, of Sojourner Truth, ear and eye of Lincoln's legions, of Harriet Tubman, St. Bernard of the Underground Railroad.
Lulu said to Leonard, "I want a diamond ring." Leonard said to Lulu, "You won't get a goddarn thing."
That cotton blouse you wear, your mother said, after a day of toil, "I guess I'll buy it." For ribbons on your head and a blouse she paid, 2 bits a yard, as if you would deny it. And nights, after long days of kitchen toil, she stitched your remade skirt of serge, once blue. Weary of eye, beneath a lamp of oil, Madonna would be proud of her, and you. Next came white creepers and white stockings too. They almost asked her blood when they were sold. Like some dark princess, to the school go you, with blue lock spur and yellow marigold. But few would know or even guess this fact. How dear comes beauty when the skin is black.
A certain amount of nothing and a dream deferred.
None in the land can say to us black men today, you dupe the poor with rags to riches' tails and leave the workers empty dinner pails. You stuck the ballot box, and honest men are muzzled by your demagogic tin. None in the land can say to us black men today, you smash stock markets with your coined blitzkrieg and make 100 million guinea pigs, or you counterfeit our Christianity and bring contempt to our democracy. None in the land can say to us black men today, you prowl when citizens are fast asleep. You hatch fifth column plots to blast the deep foundations of the state and leave the land a vast Sahara with a fascist brand. None in the land can say to us black men today, you send flame-gutting tanks like swarms to flies and plumb a hell from dynamiting skies. You fill machine gun towns with rotting dead, a no man's land where children cry for bread.
Daddy, 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 all I want is you.
You can have me, baby, but my loving days is through.
A certain amount of impotence in the dream deferred.
Walk carefully and quietly. There's a lion in the street, and I am that lion. I am dangerous. I can shoot at 45 well. I'm excellent with a carbine. I can spell my name with a Thompson grease gun. I can kill a man with my bare hands. You taught me these things to help me fight your wars. I am without fat, only muscle. You gave me that too. Because of my black skin, you forced me to use a pick and shovel 8 hours a day to earn a check of any size without the indignity of broom and the constant exhibition of humility. I can fight with a knife or against. I have, and I probably shall again. You beloved bigots taught me that, and I thank you. For my patience is gone. Patience grew from childhood with kicks in the pants for being black, or having your head rubbed for luck, or losing friends because of social pressures, and waiting in lines and being ignored, and sneered at, and all the love affairs that might have been, and losing jobs and paying more for less. I am finished with quiet, dignified rebuttals and counting to 10. Walk carefully in lion rooms in the streets. Don't brush my sleeve without a smile to show that you are sorry. Don't take my place in line or serve me sloppily with a sneer or ogle my girl with a lecherous leer. Walk carefully. There is death in your elbow and you put it there. There is death at your elbow and you put it there. There's at least one lion in the streets, perhaps more. That's not my problem, but yours.
Read parties.
I'm sorry. I missed the page.
Three parties are my party line, but that third party, Lord, ain't mine. There's liable to be confusion in a dream deferred.
Yeah, here am I. I'm standing at the crest of the tallest hill, with a trumpet in my hand and dark glasses on. Bearded and berate, I proudly stand. But there are no eyes to see me. I send down cool sounds, but there are no ears to hear me. My lips quiver in another emptiness. There are no hearts to love me. Surely, though, through night's gray fog mist of delusion and dream, and the rivers of tears that flow like gelatin soul juice, some apathetic bearer of paranoid peyote visions shall hear the song I play, shall see the beard and beret, shall become inflamed beyond all hope with emotion's everlasting fire, and join me in eternal peace. But yet, well, who knows?
There he stands, see? Like a blank, black, ancient mariner, his wrinkled old face, so full of the wearies of living, is turned downward with closed eyes. His frayed collar, faded blue old shirt turns dark with sweat, and the old necktie, undone, drops loosely about the worn old jacket. See? Just barely holding his sagging stomach in. Yeah. His run-down shoes have paper in them, and his rough, unshaven face shows pain in each wrinkle. But there he stands, in so-brought solitude, head still down, eyes still closed, ears perked and trained upon the bass line, for across his chest lies an old alto saxophone, supported from his neck by a wire coat hanger. Gently he lifts it now, to parted lips, see? To tell the world that he is a black man, that he was sent here to preach the black gospel of jazz. Now, preaching it with words of screaming notes and chords, he is no longer a man. No, not even a black man, but yeah, a bird. One that gathers his wings and flies high, high, and higher until he flies away or comes back to find himself a black man again.
From river to river, uptown and down, there's liable to be confusion when a dream gets kicked around.
You talk like they don't kick dreams around downtown.
I expect they do.
Oh, I dream a world where man no mother will scorn, where love will bless the earth and peace its path adorn. I dream a world where all will know freedom's sweet freedom's way, where greed no longer saps the soul, nor avarice blights our day. A world I dream where black or white, whatever race you be, will share the bounties of the earth, and every man is free. Where wretchedness will hang its head, and joy like a pearl attend the needs of all mankind. Of such I dream our world.
But I'm talking about Harlem to you.
Dear Mama, time I pay rent and get my food and laundry, I don't have much left. But here is $5 for you, to show I still appreciates you.
Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splinters and boards torn up and places with no carpet on the floor. Bare.
My girlfriend sent her love and say she hopes to lay eyes on you sometime in life.
But all the time I've been a climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back.
Mama, it's been raining cats and dogs up here. Well, that is all, so I will close.
Don't you sit on the steps because you find it kind of hard. Don't you fail now.
Your son, baby, respectable as ever, Joe.
Well, I still going, honey. I still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair.
Between two rivers, north of the park, like darker rivers, the streets are dark.
The old peoples, the great European races sent wave after wave that washed the forests the earth's rich loam, grew towns with the seeds of giant cities, made roads, laid golden rails, sang once of its swift achievement, and died congested in machinery. They say that near the end, someone said,
suffering is impossible on cement sidewalks, in skyscrapers, in motor cars. Steel cannot suffer. We die unconsciously because we are possessed by a non-human symbol.
another pride,
It is because of thee, O life, the first prayer ends in the last curse.
another sang,
Late minstrels of the restless earth, no muteness can be granted thee. Lift thy laughing energies to that white point, which is a star.
black and white, gold and brown, chocolate custard, pie of a town.
She does not know her beauty. She thinks of her brown body has no glory. If she could dance naked under the palm trees and see her image in the river, she would know. But there are no palm trees on the street, and dishwater gives back no image.
Dream within a dream, our dream deferred.
Out of the abyss of illiteracy, through the labyrinths of lies, across the wastelands of disease.
We advance.
Out of dead ends of poverty, through wilderness of superstition, across the barricades of Jim Crowism,
We advance.
with the peoples of the world.
We advance!
Then let the dream linger on.
Let it be the test of nations. Let it be the quest of all our days.
That none shall rest in any land, and none return to dreamless sleep.
Until the final man may stand in any place and thrust his shoulders to the sky.
Friend and brother to every other man. Good morning, Daddy. Ain't you heard? Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, in Montpelier, where we have slightly bigger crowds, but this was planned at the last minute, I guess. Last day of Poetry Month, isn't it? Tomorrow's May Day.
I learned about it a
Yeah.
half hour before I got here.
Right. We had followed up with some discussion about racism, and events that are going on right now in places like Baltimore and Ferguson earlier, and Vermont. I was just reading a story that I sent around early this morning about the state police who was suspended for some things he put on his Facebook site that weren't very sensitive, shall we say. So, Vermont is no longer has the dubious distinction of being the first most white state in the Union. Now it's the second whitest state, I guess, after maybe Maine, is it? But we're not immune to these issues, type of issues. They don't just occur in faraway places, particularly urban places, or in the South or somewhere. So people in Montpelier, together with us, had a sort of discussion, which was quite lively at points, about some of their feelings and experiences and so forth. So we'd be glad to do that here too, if that is of interest. And maybe my other colleagues here would like to say some stuff as well. It might stimulate some conversation. Sean, you're this is your area. Turf over here.
So and we framed it in a sense of systemic racism and Baltimore hadn't quite erupted.
No.
And so we were talking about Ferguson at the time. But these are, as I've been saying, such dynamic times that these incidents are happening today. And, you know, I think even in looking at law enforcement, and that's a question of, you know, looking at authority. So here, even in Vermont, as we talk about, well, this is in other places, that what somebody is willing to put out on Facebook, and I would like to believe that most people have the knowledge and the sophistication to understand the reason why they're putting this stuff out is because they want people to read it. And when you have that kind of a bias, it's really, as they've been saying, difficult to foster good public relations. And I think one of the other things that has come out around the various existences of America and living in the United States. So many of us think that we have a shared experience. And I'll say even those of us who lived through the race riots of the 60s, the 90s, that it's a struggle, I will say, for me, that those issues are still there, that we are still struggling with them. So if anybody here on our panel would like to add to that, I would love to open it up to others.
Well, it's very upsetting what's happening, and it just keeps happening. And I had the experience of writing a letter to the editor after Ferguson, and I was just writing about my the dilemma I was having with the reality of something happening like that, and no real sense of responsibility that something had happened, and you know, there was that it seemed to be a shrugged shoulder response, and I read it to a writers group here in town, and the response that partly I think it was they felt like I was bringing politics into this writers group discussion, and but there was they were bringing up some kinds of information that they had about what had happened there, and responses of the mother, and you know, I don't really want to repeat all that, but their response was that I didn't have all the information, and I should get my facts straight. And there was a kind of real anger about the feeling that somehow the police had been the brave ones. And I was just really struck with how far from their perception was mine, that there was just this great chasm of lack of shared experience, and a feeling that I didn't have my information straight. that's where they are.
Yeah. So how does that play out in St. Johnsbury, in the community around here? I suppose a number of people, as in other places where prisons are located, are working there as guards. Actually, I've known somebody who was a phys ed instructor down here. So they're dependent on that from their livelihood. That creates some cognitive dissonance there, with perhaps with not being able to kind of face the other issues, race and so forth. I'm just wondering if you had any thoughts, or other people who live here in St. Johnsbury, or I live over in Marshfield, not too far away.
Well, I think as a white person living in this part of the state of Vermont and the Northeast Kingdom, and I've lived here for 40 years. My struggle has been to how to communicate with white people about racism and about racial justice. And I'm still struggling. I'm not answering your question.
No, okay, that's all right.
I know that.
Yeah.
I'm in some ways speaking in response to you, and I think there is, for us who are white, and that A, is our responsibility, and B, it's necessary that we figure out how to speak with people like the people in your writers group, or many other white people in our communities. How can we make it possible for them to hear? Because you don't have all the information, and I don't have all the information, but the folks in your writers group really don't have any information.
They don't have the experience, and part of it is experience.
Yeah, well, it's not been available, made available.
Yeah.
For a reason.
As you say that, in this work, I've been working with this group for a short time, the perspective of racism being a white problem has come up to me. I never pictured it that way. I think it's a great way to look at it, how as a white person I have privilege, and what do I do with that? It's really a twist and a good way to look at it.
One of the more interesting, there were a number of interesting people who spoke in Montpelier. We also had a young man from Nigeria, who I'm not sure if he's here to work or student or what, but anyway, he got up and talked about his experiences here in Second Flight State in the Union. And he, of course, had studied some history of the United States back in Nigeria, and said he thought this was all stuff that happened 50 years ago until he got here. And then he experienced it himself, and of course, watching the news, it was quite a shock for him. He said it's very interesting to hear his observations. And there was no person, a white man, who said he spent most of his life outside the country. I don't know if he was a draft resistor from Vietnam. He was about that age, my age. But anyway, he said he'd come back to the country recently to live because of health problems and being closer to his children. And he just, what did he say? So he thought it was the most racist place he's been in. He'd been everywhere, all over the world, everywhere. And he would, having been gone for so long, he, like Rip Van Winkle, waking up, he was also shocked by the situation. So sometimes, we're sort of here embedded and immersed in it all, and it's hard to get a perspective and see, particularly for white people, of course. Yeah.
So in you know, where do we go next, and next step in moving forward? And you know, as we had said, there are resources. There's the Northeast Kingdom Allies for Racial Justice, and we are in the process of planning various activities around education and training. You want to say something about FARA?
Yeah, FARA has been around since
What?
Vermont Anti-Racism Action Team. It's a statewide organization that focuses primarily on racism in schools. And we have a hotline that parents can call when their children are being harassed in school. And that is a very hard, very difficult initiative to run because of a lot of resistance to the fact that racism exists in Vermont. I'm still told, I've been there 45 years, and I'm still told, well, we don't have racism in Vermont, you know.
Because they really don't,
kind of
they
thing.
don't understand, because people that are isolated from being in multiracial environments they don't know, because they haven't been in a multiracial environment, hardly, they don't even understand the concept of racism. They don't know that they're racist because they've never had those relationships.
They never had to deal with it.
Right.
They had the privilege of really of not having to think about it. And I mean, everyone in Vermont, well, almost everybody in Vermont has at least read a newspaper or see lots of television where so many times it's a black man who's with cuffs on, who's being dragged to the police station, you know, kind of thing. So, yeah, it's a very complicated, layered kind of thing. And again, it presents then this, I don't have to use the word privilege, but that's all I have right now, this privilege of not having to deal with it. You know, and I think as white people, you know that you do have the privilege of not having to deal with racism, kind of thing. We also have what's called Reading to End Racism, where we go into the schools and read to children in every single grade using age-specific books, and it usually talks about a hero who has overcome racism. And that's a lot more pleasant to deal with because the kids are, you know, right out there and they're honest and they talk about it. And teachers with that program have been pretty cooperative. Maybe one day, hopefully, we'll get out to St. Johnsbury soon.
Yeah. Vermont has a proud tradition here.
I'm
sorry, I'm interrupting you. Sorry.
But, you know, it's my experience, I mean, I know, okay, on one side of the stick, Vermont was the first state to abolish slavery. It was the first state to graduate a black person from one of its prestigious schools. Right. It was the first state to have a black person go before the Supreme Court, and she won her land dispute, and on and on and on. I mean, I know there's other stuff, but right now I'm dealing with that. I just want to balance, you know, that there's some things, racism, wrong with Vermont, but there's a lot of things that are right with Vermont as well.
Other white people were involved in the Underground Railroad, and of course the Civil Rights Movement. There was just a forum in Plainfield recently in which 3 white women talked about their experiences during Freedom Summer going to the South. Very powerful stuff.
One right here.
Oh, I knew you looked big. Yeah, so there's that to build on. There is a documentary movie I used to show. It's a little dated as reflected by its title, Vermont, the Whitest State in the Union. I guess it came out around 20 years ago. Has anybody else seen this movie? It interviews people who recently moved to Vermont.
I have it.
Yes, it's still, I think, useful to look at and talk about to stimulate discussion. Yeah.
What is it's called, the White Estate?
Vermont, the whitest state in the Union. Yeah.
It's something to see, and it's not very long.
No, it's not.
It's pretty.
Are you in the movie page? There's some people from Montpelier in
Not
the
in the
movie.
movie,
Yeah.
but I do have that.
Yeah. Right. So.
And I know the people that are in the movie.
There's also a movie about children, adopted white families who adopted.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, that's what's his
Fault
name?
line.
What's his name?
I don't know. It's something in the name.
Those are people in central Vermont too, aren't they?
Yeah, but it's, what's the first thing? Something in the fault line.
Oh, yes, living on.
Living on the fault
Living on the
line.
Thank you.
Living on the
Three
fault
of
line.
us.
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No.
This is, and sort of to kind of bring this to a conclusion, we're going to sing a couple of songs. This is the most dynamic time for me in Vermont around racial issues. There are more groups that have sprung up, whether they're on Facebook, whether people are meeting in groups. And all over Vermont. I will say, just because of the population, Chittenden County has the most that's happening. But I'm glad that I'm here to experience it. It's quite encouraging.
We had about 30, 40 people on the streets of Montpelier today after the non-indictment at first.
In person,
Yeah. Sean, you should say something about your other project with prisoners. You're trying to get prisoners back from Kentucky.
Yes, so the other, quickly, as Jay had mentioned, there is a disproportionate number of people in the correctional facility. And although we do have here in St. Johnsbury a facility, there is Locked Up and Shipped Away, a campaign that's coming out with Vermonters for criminal justice reform. And our goal is to bring our citizens back and no longer support a private for-profit prison corporation. So in concluding, rather than leaving with prisons, leaving with some songs, we have a couple of songs. There are two that we'll be singing, and we're going to stand up and do this.
We're not singers, professional or even amateur, but we try.
We have voices. And so the first one is, which is on, I guess would be the third page if I had a hammer.
too bad.
So the second song, and if we can, and if some people had voices. So the second song is "Oh Freedom," and we're just changing the last from "and I go home to my lawn and be free" to "I stand for my right to be free." My right to be free.
I stand for my right to be free.
Ready? Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. And I'll stand for my right to be free. No more weeping, no more weeping, no more weeping over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. And I'll stand for my right to be free.
They'll be singing,
Singing, they'll be singing, they'll be singing over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. And I'll stand for my right to be free.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Can I just say a little thing about this song?
yeah.
I would just like to dedicate the song that I sang to my friend and former SNCC project director, Charles Sherrod, who organized in Southwest Georgia, is still organizing as best he can, but he has Alzheimer's and is losing a brilliant mind. But this is his song, and this is what he taught us all to sing.